Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill, and we're going to do another live stream on the Auth project here. Oh, good, I've already got that up. And essentially, last time I ended up... Hey, little girl. We got my daughter here with us, too. So last time... Last time I converted the bash test over into JavaScript, and everything is working as expected. I fixed a couple of outstanding issues, went through some issues, made some documentation on some things that were lacking documentation. And so now I am... whoops. Just one second here. I'm going to continue. I might have to close the door. Hold on. All right, Annie. I need you to go to your room. Go play upstairs, okay? Go play with Mom. Okay. And we're back. So I'm trying to keep it cool in here, and it just gets warm, and so I leave the door open because it's easier to blow a little fan. Anyway, so what we're going to do is move on to the browser portion, where we go through this magic link flow, this login flow, and I'm going to go to Figma. This is where I keep my little diddly-doos. I think that I've got a pretty decent one right here we can look at. So I showed this before, but this is kind of the flow that we're going to handle. And I'll bring up, there's an issue that I have with the flow. Was it here? Did I put it? I put it somewhere. Maybe I put it in the README. Yeah, I think I actually did put it in the README, which is maybe not the right place for it, but maybe it is. Who knows? And I need to be on the correct branch. So the whip branch, I can get rid of whip 2. Most of the stuff from the prior bits have been finally made their way back into main. Yet another auth library, session API. Here we go, Magic Link API. So basically, there's a couple of different conditions in which we will be getting a magic link via email. And the email templates are going to be different for each of these, but they're effectively the same thing. And what we signal to the user interface that we want to do might be different. So the user interface for these might be the same, but the API on the back end is the same. So we want to log in via email, we want to reset the password, or we want to send a login via email after a failed password attempt. Or separately, we just want to verify the email address. That's one. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Because that one would look quite different than the others, because you wouldn't actually want to necessarily show, hey, you're logged in. Let's see. Especially because they're probably already logged in, which is something that we'll need to check for on the front end more so than the back end. Email verification already logged in. So generally speaking, my thought is if something is of any relative importance, which most of the things that I think people who are watching are probably working on, you're probably not working on social media apps, you may be, you're probably working on something that's B2B. So with that, business to business, if the user is logging in for the first time, we don't want them to have to validate anything because they have no assets of any value. But if they're coming back to log in a second time, their email should be verified by that point because they may have created assets of value. So the first time they log in and they're doing the email verification flow, they're already logged in, so we don't need to log them in. So that's how that's different. Anyway, I'll go ahead and save this. Update README is fine. Don't need a super descriptive message on that one. Okay, so there's going to be something that sends out an email or a text message. So this flow also works for text messages. I'm calling it the magic link flow, but it could just as well be the SMS code verification flow. And oops, I hit a button and it scrolled me. And there's a couple of ways this could happen. I don't know why I have my headphones on. I'm not actually listening to my headphones. But it gives me a sense of comfort, actually. I'm going to keep them on because I like to have my headphones on when I'm working. It feels good, even when I'm not listening to music. And I may try listening to music today because I'm going to have to do there's going to be some coding. And maybe I'll shut up and just make occasional comments and listen to music a little bit or something. I'm longing for some music after so much live streaming. Anyway, so the link could be opened on the same device where we requested it, meaning I go to log in, I click send me a link, but I might click on the link on my phone, especially if it's an SMS. Then probably I'm going to click on the link on my phone, or the verification code is going to come in on my phone. So I either have to click the link or I have to type in the code. We could always, likewise, we could do the link in, we could do a code instead of a link that the user just has to copy paste. Now, I did, for this purpose, I created this article, and I'll throw this article. I do have the chats open on both YouTube and Twitch right now, so if you do want to make a comment, feel free to, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here just for anybody that is watching right now. If we did something like we want login to be basically the minimum recommendation, I think, is 29 bits of entropy, and that's an old recommendation. It's probably higher today, but I'm referencing a Wikipedia article for that, which is from 2010, I think it was. But a login code that is so here are all the encodings that you could have for what you're going to have in a token or a verification code. So it could be raw bytes. That's not actually really possible with humans. It could be ASCII, base 64, so on and so forth. Just numeric. So with numeric, you have very low number of bits per character. So I have down here, is it this one or the next one? It is this one. 19 bits. Okay, 19 bits is what's common for OTP. That is 6 decimal digits. So 6 decimal digits, yeah, here we are, right here, is only 19 bits of entropy. You would not want to use that for a general login. Even if you restrict the time on it to 30 seconds, it's still basically a 1 out of 10,000 shot that somebody can get it right, which is a little too, what is it, 1 out of 10,000 or 100,000? Yeah, I guess it's 1 out of, no, yeah, almost, okay, so actually it's almost a million. Yeah, because 20 bits is a million, 19 bits is close. Okay, anyway. Point being, it's a little scary. Even a million is kind of, 1 in a million is actually quite likely. So if you were, depending on how we want to send these codes, and I've already done this base 64 encoding on it, which base 64, you can get a lot of bits. So say we want to meet the minimum, if we use 5 base 64 encoded bits, we meet that 29. So but then you have to deal with the uppercase and lowercase, and people might not type it right. So if you wanted to go down, I don't have the base 32 on here, but it's like base 36 alphanumeric lowercase. Anyway, this is just to show if you have it 16 characters long, you get 96 bits of entropy. That's pretty good. But the person has to either copy and paste or type this in, and you got to keep that in mind. If they have to type it in, you don't want to use base 64 because you don't want them dealing with lowercase and all that garbage. Anyway, let's go back here. So, point being, somehow you have to get a secret value that is a high entropy secret value from one device to another device. It's easiest if they're just getting it in email and clicking it on the same device, but that may not always be the case. Then we got the login on verified devices. So we got two scenarios here. So when you're doing this process on a single device, you're going to have one tab is going to be open in the background, and then you go to your email and you open up another tab. Oh, let me check and see where my hands are here because I'm not actually monitoring myself to know how far out of frame I'm going. Okay, yeah. So you've got your one tab open, then you got your email tab open. You click the link in your email. Now you've got 3 tabs open, and then reportedly, some people get confused if there's 2 tabs open with the thing. So you need to say something like you may need to close you may close this tab, or maybe if you can auto close it, try to auto close it. And then in the other tab, you want to ask, do you want to remember this for 30 days? Verifying between 2 browsers. You kind of have, do you want to log them in both on the phone where they click the link? Do you want to, anyway, that's what we need to figure out here. And I'm just kind of refreshing that, reviewing it in my own mind. It's good to talk through it again because we talked through this last time. So if you skip this bit, I won't be offended. Well, I won't be offended anyway because I don't expect anybody to watch it. But if you want to watch it, you can. So, yeah. We've got all of our tests here. Okay, I don't think I actually need that up anymore. Let me get that out of the way. Close out of this, close out of this, close out of this. And we can close out of this too. So I've got my server running. I haven't restarted this in a couple of sessions now, so I'm just going to start just show you what I'm doing using watch-exec-r, meaning restart on change, watching extensions of .js and .env, and then running the command npm start. So anytime I change a JS file or an env file, it's going to kill the process and then restart it again. Okay. So let me look at test magic link. This is what we did, I think, the time before last. Was it last time or the time before last? We converted all the tests from, well, not all the tests, but all the magic link tests from Bash to JavaScript. So now this is a big, long thing. Sorry, I'm scrolling so fast you can't see any of it, but it doesn't matter that much. If we go from we're going to make an order for the magic link to we're going to check the status of the magic link, which of course should be not verified, to we're going, we go on and on and on. And I have it so that if it's in development mode, let me go back into the main code real quick. So development, if we're in development mode and the IP address is localhost, then we'll issue a warning and we'll give the secret back in the result. That way the tests can go through without having to have some sort of email API thing. So that's how, even though this is a magic link, I'm able to do testing on it, is that I skip sending out the email when I'm in development mode, and instead I just get back the secret immediately. Now, I am going to have to change that for us to do this browser testing because we actually do want the email to send out for that. Or maybe I'll just have a link that opens up in a new target. No, because I need to be able to test it on my phone as well. So we will actually have the email send out. But we'll still have the secret in as long as we're running in development. And it's localhost, we'll have that secret value come in. And for those of you that are watching, feel free at any time to ask a question or make a comment as I go through this stuff. This first little bit is always just, well, not always, but oftentimes refresher. I'm getting myself reacquainted. I'm thinking through things again. I'm getting myself in the right mental state. Okay, so now let's go back to the browser end of this. So here we are. And the last thing that we did, let's see if I can actually get this up here. Localhost, was it 3042? There we go. So we've got our Google sign-in. We need to add our magic link sign-in. So let me go, actually not to the JavaScript file, but let me go to the HTML file here, index.html. And let's put this in a form for funsies. I don't know, that's actually the right thing to do. We could at least put it in a div. This other thing will make a form. Probably have a couple of different forms here. And this one is going to have an input of type email, and it's required and we'll put a label around this. I really love labels because you can put a label. I always recommend putting the label around the input. One, you don't have to use stupid IDs if you do that, because it knows what it belongs to because it's surrounding it, and it increases the target size so you can click anywhere in the label and it's the same as if you click on the input, and I really like that. So we'll put here email, and then with that, let me just refresh and see what we got. Yeah, great. Beautiful. Let's put a horizontal rule here. So we'll call this, let's give this H3, oops, call this social login, and then we'll make a thing down here and we'll call this or login with email. Okay, cool. Great, looking good. So we also want to have, well, I guess we need a submit button. Again, I like to throw labels around everything that can be clicked on by a user, because then you get to control how big the click size is. And I think this is of great benefit. One quick question. Should we store JWT token in local storage? So it depends. That's a tangent that I don't really want to go down the rabbit hole on that right now. You have to consider holistically what are the security vulnerabilities. If you are running third-party scripts, then those third-party scripts have access to all JavaScript cookies and everything that's in local storage. So if you're pulling in third-party code that you did not write, that you have not verified, that exists on some other server, that could change without warning, that could get infected with malware. Like imagine if, say the hosted React version that's on these 5 different CDNs. Imagine one of those hosted React versions, somebody finds a way to get malware into it and have it put on the CDN. Now, everybody that's using that CDN that day, all of them get the malware version of React. If that were the case, that script has access to local storage and all of the JavaScript cookies, and it could get out credentials. If you put your refresh token, so say your JWT is short-lived, it only lives for 15 minutes, well, I don't think it really matters much, or maybe it lives for an hour or something. If you put your refresh tokens in server-side secure, same-site cookies, that's like 3 different properties, then you end up with a more secure experience from that perspective of the third-party cookies. But if somebody has access to your site with third-party script, there's a bunch of stuff they could do anyway. So my basic thought on it is, I think all things considered, the things that you're trying to protect against, it doesn't much matter whether you put JWTs in local storage or not. I'm building this with the JWTs not in local storage. They're going to be in session storage, which is essentially the same thing as local storage, or a global object, depending on how it's implemented, and the refresh tokens are going to be in cookies. And the reason for this is really more to appease people that are afraid of putting JWTs in local storage than that I think that it's actually dangerous to put JWTs in local storage. Because if the computer's infected with malware or these other things that are going on, okay, I'm down the rabbit hole now, then you're not... What are you protecting against? If the malware has access to the person's browser, it has access to their cookies. If the third-party scripts are running on your site, they have access to the user's actions anyway. They can hit the refresh endpoint and be able to generate a new token whenever they want. So it's like 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I think people put too much emphasis on it. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get back to this. Feel free to ask a follow-up question there, Coder Ayusha. And then, yeah, for those of you that do ask comments, just realize I'm not going to see them immediately right away. It'll take me a couple minutes, but I will try to answer them as I see them, even if you disappear, because I think Coder Ayusha has already disappeared. But I'll try to answer. Anyway, so I've got this login with email. I've got this button here. We're going to call this next, and this is going to be of type submit. And this form will just have an action of, I'll try to give it an action of nothing. It always is going to have an action. But we're going to give this a class, and I always prefix my classes with -js. Well, my IDs I always prefix with hyphen. My classes I often don't, but in this case I will. No, I won't, because I haven't there. IDs I always prefix with hyphen so that they don't leak into the JavaScript namespace that you're likely to use. But the classes that I'm using for interaction, like when I'm attaching events and stuff, that's how I do it. So we got JS hyphen, what are we going to call this one? Let's just call it email. Yeah, we'll just go that. That'll be the name of the form. Well, I'll call it magic email. There we go. That'll be the form, because then this right here, I'll probably want its class to be, well, I guess I could just make its name email. I can grab it that way. And then this button doesn't really need a name. I don't really care about its value. I'm not going to be checking which button was clicked. There's only one button to click. And then, of course, hitting enter will also submit the form, which is something like the people need to be using forms. When you've got a form, use a form, because then when you hit enter, the form will submit and listen on the form action, not on the button. And I'll show you that in just a second. But it's really annoying when there's a form and I hit enter and the form doesn't continue on to the next thing. So always wrap stuff in a form. The button is type submit by default when it's inside of a form, but it's good to put it there to be explicit, in my opinion. And then these labels, one of them I'm actually using the label, the other I'm not, but in both cases the label increases the target size around the button by a few pixels at least. And you can make it arbitrary, because you can select that with CSS, and you can make the label 10 pixels large, which would mean that you could click the button. I mean, I think that's a little excessive, but I like larger target sizes. The target size should always be slightly bigger than the visual size by a little bit. And then it also provides padding and all that. Anyway, so there we go. Here's our form. Cool beans. We've got our next there, and then we're going to need another form after this, which we'll go ahead and make it hidden right from the get-go. So this will be hidden, and this will be I guess it doesn't actually need to be a form. We'll just start out with a div here. And we'll make this read-only. I won't give it a name. I'll just give it a type. It's not required because it's just gonna. This is just gonna be read-only. It's essentially disabled. And then we're just gonna put a message here that's something like. Login link has been sent to your email. You know, go check your email for the login link. There we go. Let's just wrap that in a P to be classy. Not in the CSS sense, but in the, you know, like class sense. You got class. Anyway. Yeah, now it's time to go back to the JavaScript, and I kind of want to make this bit. I think I want to make this into a different JavaScript file. So let me go here. Let's see, where is our JavaScript at? Is it down at the bottom of the page? Oh, it's up at the top. It's up at the top here? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to put this down at the bottom now. I think I'll move both of these down to the bottom. Oh yeah, because that was at the bottom, and then I moved where I added more things. So I'm going to call this, whoops, magic link. And we're going to start adding stuff in there because this is different enough. And main I could have called OIDC or something. Probably want to factor some things out eventually, but for right now, I just want to be able to work on this in a separate file because it's really different logic. So we've got our magic link, and I'm just going to wrap this whole thing in an iffy, immediately invoked function expression. And then what do I want? I'm going to bring over good old AJ query. There we go. I'm going to bring over some of this stuff. Okay, I'm making this async so that I can use await at the apparently top level. From the way that I use it, will appear to be top level. I'm just checking comments real quick and getting my face back in frame so I can see my preview. Okay, I don't need to worry about the base URL probably right now. And we'll take our good old AJ query and we'll select the form that is of type JS magic email, and we'll add an event listener. I'm not using event delegation just because we're doing a quick little ditty. For any real application, well, I guess for any application where things on the page can be added and removed, you need to use what's known as event delegation, which is where you check to see. You listen on an event, on an element that will not be removed from the page, and then you check to see if the events that bubbled up had originated from, for example, the form or a particular button or something like that. Okay. Add event listener submits, and then we got events ev.prevent default makes it so it doesn't actually submit. ev.stop propagation means that if we had another listener, bless me. If we had another event listener higher up, it would not get the event. Although with forms, I don't think that happens anyway, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, and then we're going to get, what is it, name equals email, I think. And we're going to look for the value of that. So let's just say email is equal to this, console.log email. And I'm going to copy over one of the fetches from the other file as kind of a template to start from. So let's go ahead and check that this works in its most basic form already. So if I open up the inspector, I actually want this to just go below. Let me see if I can, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Let's have this go down. Is this below? Dock to bottom, there we go. So this is what I want, and let's just put in, and then I should be able to hit enter. Good. So there we are. And now we want this to do something special. Let's say that we actually want the magic form itself to be hidden. So I don't like using this, but it exists, so I'm going to use it right here. So that's going to be true. Actually, you know what? I just don't like using this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's confusing. It's buggy. It requires workarounds. I won't use it. But then what was the other one we had? JS. I forgot. Let me go back into the HTML here. Oh, we didn't give it a name. So let's call this one JS Magic Check. I don't know. Go check your email. What? This one's hidden to be false. And then we're going to put a little to do here. Send email. All right. So let's refresh this. Go check your email for the login link. But what we didn't do, there's a couple things I want to change about this. One is we can get rid of the email label, that's fine. The other is I want to actually add the email here. Yeah, let's try this. And we'd probably want some sort of animation or some such. Also, we need to get rid of this login with email. Let me go back here. So this should actually go inside of here. And this, we should give this a go check your email. I'm always unsure how to go about capitalizing these things. Oops. Hey. Ah! Unexpected closing tab of label. I understand. There we go. Alrighty. So here we are. Cool. And I don't know why this is... I don't actually want it to have all this flair to it when it's in a read-only state. Alright, now we need to actually do the send-off of the email. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this to a div. I just put a dot in there as a placeholder. Oh, actually an @ would be make a nicer placeholder. There we go. Go check your email. Go check your email for the login link. And then what I'd like to do in this, I mean, there's a lot of fancy stuff I'd like to do here. Like have it detect the email. I'd also like it to still show the social sign-in, which it already is doing, so that's fine. It'd be nice if it had an animation where the one left and the other comes in, because when things just change in less than a blink of an eye, sometimes people don't notice. You don't want interactions, user interface interactions, to be faster than, well, you want it to be a little faster than the blink of an eye. That's about 300 milliseconds, but you want it to be slower than 100 milliseconds. So 150, 200 milliseconds for interaction is kind of the sweet spot. You don't want people to be waiting there all day and getting bored, which the blink of an eye is basically all it takes to get bored. Yes, hello, welcome. If you've got any questions or anything, feel free to ask them. I'm just coding along, but I will stop and answer questions. Okay, so now we're gonna take, we're just gonna, I'm gonna copy in from the other file where I've got a bunch of other stuff going on. I'm just gonna find a place where I'm using fetch and it has some options, headers and all that. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this just to use it as a template because it's faster than typing the thing out. And yeah, that looks good. Okay, I'm gonna bring that over here, and I'm going to make another function, and we're going to call this Send verification. Or rather, not send as much as request. And we do have base URL here. So there's some other stuff that I set up in the other file. I'm just duplicating for now. Some of these environment type things, just because I want to be able to work on this code in isolation. I don't want to have any framework to it. And so I'm just going to copy some stuff over, like base URL is going to be the same. This is the URL that's essentially http:/localhost blah blah blah. Okay, so I still want to be able to use those things, and then later on I'll refactor, and I'll put the right things in the right place, figure out what that is. Actually, I probably won't, because this will probably just serve as a demo for somebody to then this code will eventually end up both in a Vue app and a React app, so I'm probably just going to provide these with copious comments and showing, here's how you use this strategy, the magic link, here's how you use this other strategy, the Google login, Microsoft login, I'll probably add too. Anyway, so we're going to request, I forget what the name of it is, but I think it's like Auth challenge issue, I think is what it is, and that's a post. And we don't actually need to put any headers on it, so I'll just leave the headers empty there. But we do need a body for this. And I think so we do need the content type headers. I'm going to go back over here and see, did we actually use that at all? No, we didn't. We didn't use that over here. Okay, so I'm going back. Sorry, I'm switching between files rather quickly. You don't really need to follow along. Just if I switch, just pretend that I didn't. Just close your eyes. Okay. So we're going to say content type. We're just going to set this to JSON. And I don't think that we need anything else. And I forget whether with fetch is it body. I think that's what it is. JSON.stringify. I need to create a cheat sheet for this, for just copy and pasting. And what we're going to do is we're going to take email. So the API as we defined it before, as it is in the README, which I believe the project is in the comments or the details, the doobly-doo. It's down in the doobly-doo. But I'll put a link here as well in both Twitch and YouTube, so anybody that's following along can kind of see. But I've documented that when we create this challenge, that we're going to put a type, and right now I'm only concerned with email, but I'll also have telephone in the future, and then a value, and then the value is going to be whatever the email is. And then there's something else that we want to put in here, which is the front end should tell us what template it should prefer to use for emails. Oh, excuse me. And we will get to those templates eventually. I was going to do it in a prior session, but it just ended up not being the right time for it. But essentially, I want to be able to say, because the process is going to be the same. We're going to generate a high entropy token, and we're going to send it out, email, text message, whatever. But we can do it for different purposes. We can do it for forgot password, or magic link login, or email verification, or phone verification, etc. So what I want the front end to be able to do is, template isn't really the right word, but really just to kind of signal what was the interaction that this is for. Do we want to send out the forgot password template? Do we want to send out the magic link template? The front end should not have a lot of information about what goes on the back end, but there just needs to be something that's going to be part of the API that says, okay, here's an enumerated list of values that the reason we're making this challenge request is because we want to, all we care about is verifying the email address. We don't actually care that the user sees this stuff about logging them in, even though the same could be used. All right, what is this complaining about? Missing semicolon. Because I didn't do async. There we go. And I don't know whether I want to no-op this. Let me go see. I'm going to go back to the other file and see how I had set these up. Die. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm just going to copy those over. Alright, so it's going to give an error. Sure. And my phone is going off the hook here. Let me just see what's going on. Oh, it's just memes. I'm in a group chat right now, unfortunately. I mean, I do like having friends, but I like spamming people in a group chat. Actually, I do it very rarely. It just happens to be my sister, but I don't like being spammed in a group chat. It's my sister and a mutual friend. Anyway. So, where are we at? So this is not used yet. This is prototype not used yet. Okay, but we should be able to send the type and the value. And we're in dev mode, so we're actually going to get back the secret as it exists without having to send the email. So I'm going to demonstrate that first, just to make sure everything's working as I think that it ought to be. I don't know why I'm yawning. It's the middle of the day. Again, I think it might be posture or something. Oh, I see you've got a question here. Let me check that out. Learning Python, but I'm really not good at maths, but I want to learn Python. That's not actually a question. That's a statement. But I would say that in order to program, you would do well to... You really need to be good at basic algebra. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. It's just, there's certain subsets that I wouldn't necessarily deem programming that you can do without being good at algebra. But, like you can do front-end programming. But if you want to learn Python, why in the world would you want to learn Python? If you don't want to go into data science, there's no point in learning Python. Python is an old language. It's antiquated. It is easy to learn. It's nice from a textbook perspective, but it's not practical. So I would not recommend that you learn Python, except for Python's a good language to learn to start learning programming. But there's other languages that are good too. Like the only reason I recommend Python to people is because there is the book Python the Hard Way. Were it not for that book, I would not be recommending Python to people. Because really the value is in the book and the methodologies that it has, not in the language of Python itself, although there are good things about Python, don't get me wrong. But I will link you to this real quick. There. That's beef up your thinking skills is what I would say. Okay, getting back to this. So the link that I put there was a link to how to think about a common interview question in just English. So you can learn Java. I mean, Java's super popular, but again, it's not a modern language. It's not practical for the type of things that are modern. I would say that the three languages that people should be focusing on are Golang, because it's extremely easy to use and extremely profitable. JavaScript, because you have to learn it. You don't have an alternative. You will learn JavaScript, at least to some degree. And then Rust. Rust is definitely more advanced, and I think it's a little bit more difficult to learn. Although if you're just getting into programming, it might actually be easier because all concepts are new anyway. But those are the languages that the web is being built on, and that new things are being built in. And they're modern languages that have good features and tool sets. Languages like Java is being updated little by little, but it's not a modern language. But again, it depends. Are you looking for any job, or are you looking for a great job? If you're looking for any job, Java's a great language to get into. If you're looking for a great job, you want to look at probably Go. And again, if you're looking at back-end or computation or programs, not just web apps. But Go is used for web apps a lot too. That the web is kind of built on Go right now. Kubernetes and Docker and all the proxies, everything's being built in Go. But yeah, I would say learn Go and learn JavaScript. But if you're just looking for a job and you don't care whether it's a great job and you're just like, I just want to get a paycheck, I'm not really that into programming, I just want to take advantage that there's a huge market right now, and yeah, Java works. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I personally don't like it as much because programming has always been a passion for me, or it was a hobby and then a passion. And so it's hard for me to see just people making so much money having learned so little, but that is the reality of the world. Like, you don't have to learn a lot and you can make a lot of money. So why would anybody in their right mind not do that? It's a sane, intelligent thing to do. So, but it's just kind of like, if you were an artist and then all of a sudden art became really popular and people didn't have to become practiced or go through the things that you learn as an artist or a pianist or any type of skill like that. If there was all of a sudden a shortcut where you could learn the bare minimum, squeeze in a lot of sour notes, and still make almost as much money as somebody who's a top, somebody who's got the 10 years of experience, which is how programming is. The difference between somebody who has a few years of experience and 10 or 15 years of experience in terms of pay, I mean, as an employer, I don't know why you'd ever pay for anybody except for seniors, because the pay gap isn't that much and you get a lot more for it. But as someone being employed, you can get almost as much as a senior developer as a junior developer. There's the pay gap is really narrow, all things considered, or at least from what I've seen. Anyway, I got off track here. I need to focus. So I'm doing this thing. I'm going to send this request off. I'm going to see what I get back. I wanted to log it. So I wanted to send my request verification probably right about here. Here's a funny thing about this, though. Oh, bless me. We don't want the form to be valid while we're making this request, because then they could hit the form twice. But we don't want to show success before it actually happens. In this case, because of the way I'm doing it, we're going to show the success so that the form isn't there, and then we're going to make the request. And then if the request is not good, then we'll die, which dying, whoops. I need to make this async as well, which means, let's see, that doesn't quite work. It'll work for now, because there's nothing to catch this if it throws. That's why I'm saying it doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, so learn JavaScript. Yeah, there is JavaScript the hard way, I think, has come out from the guy that wrote Python the hard way. I don't know if that's a great way to learn JavaScript. JavaScript is a really strange language. And so I can't recommend any good resources for learning it, because I don't believe that there are really great resources. Well, actually I can. Croc.js. But that you kind of already have to have some programming. But I'll go ahead and put in here the YouTube link for Crockford on JavaScript. But this is the best JavaScript series that I've ever seen. It's when I was just learning JavaScript, it's what I watched. And I think it's still relevant today. And I think knowing the history of JavaScript is actually more important than knowing the latest features, because the latest features kind of come and go. They're not really super stable. So there's a playlist for Crockford. And this was the JavaScript dude at one point. He's not the guy that created it, but he was one of the lead dudes. Yeah. But I honestly, I recommend Golang for learning more than anything else, because Golang it's easy to learn, it's high paying, and there's a community of true experts. Whereas JavaScript, it's really difficult to sort between who's an expert and who's a novice and discern what information you're getting is good or bad. With Golang, I feel like that's a lot easier because there's a couple of dudes and gals, probably. I mean, I just know the dudes, actually. But anyway, whatever. That are at the top of it that make most of the decisions. And it has Go Proverbs is a really nice... well, I guess you kind of already have to know Go a little bit to understand the Proverbs. But anyway, there's a lot of good videos on YouTube from the core Go team, the people that actually created Go and continue to create Go. They're just excellent, excellent videos from them, from Google I/O, from other talks that they've done around the world. So JavaScript is great to learn. Which link? I just gave you the link to the Crockford on JavaScript. That is the one in the chat just above, if you look up. But as far as Go, here's a link to Go Proverbs. Well, no, I'm not going to give that link. Anyway, there's a tweet that I've got that it's got a link to tons of great Go resources that I'll look up later. But if you just Google CoolAge86 Golang Twitter, and then Amy, because Amy is also on the thread, Amy Knight, then if you get lucky, then that should come up. I'll do it real quick, but then I need to get back to this because this is my core thing today that I need to focus on and get done. I can't go on too many tangents like this. I'll be a bad person. Yeah, I'll have to look that up later. But there's a good list of stuff. Golang. It's Go as in go, like go to the store, lang as in language, Golang. Anyway, let me get back to this because that's what the real focus here needs to be. So I'm going to get back the verification. I'm going to die. It's going to give me a window message if something goes wrong. And I want a console.log, let's see, probably resp.json. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Where was my request function? Oh, I just skipped over it. So really, when this thing ends, what I want to do is call then, and I'm going to get the response. And then I want, well, I guess, can I do it this way? Yeah, I could just do it this way. Let's body equals await resp dot, I think it's JSON. And then I could return, I don't know if that's going to work, but let's just attach the JSON to the response body and call it good. See if that works for us. Because I do want to be able to see the headers and stuff too. Anyway, let's refresh here so we get the latest code. Put my email in. Oops, there was an unexpected error. It's not your fault. You cannot set property response which only has a getter. Okay, cool. That's actually fine. That is not a server error. But the message says it was a server error. That's fine. Let's call it, now I can't do JSON. Can we call it data? Can we do that? I just want to throw it on something. If I have to turn it into an object, I will. But I was just kind of hoping to throw it on something real quick. All right. Challenge token. And we got the secret coming back here. But I actually do want to send the email. The email, it says the email has been sent. The email has not been sent. But I just need to go update basically the example code here, the app.js example, because this is not part of the library. This is just for me testing the library as I'm building it, and then I'll try to condense this down, provide like a wrapper around it or something, and then say, here you go. This is the boilerplate that you need. But right now it's kind of big. Anyway, I need to check in notify. Probably I got a message over here. Did we get skipping email send? There we go. And then this set, I actually don't want that. Let me check on where the heck was that at? I think that was in lib magic link. I think I've got a stray console.log. Console dot. All right, what was this one? Complete. Yeah, I don't want. I try to get rid of my stray console.logs before I commit, but sometimes they stay in there. And I try to, whenever I do a console.log that I'm going to be removing, I try to put a debug message there. Or, yeah, so that I can grep through and then find it. Just RG, all caps debug. Find instances of it. Okay, debug. Do I still want this one to debug, verify? I don't think I need that debug anymore. I could be wrong. Oh, okay, no, that's fine. That one's fine there for now. And that is a debug, not a log, so. Okay, so I don't see it here. Maybe it was in that file. Log, there we go. Yeah, I don't want that there. I don't want that there. Just kind of going through. Okay, let's get rid of the junk. And then we did have skipping email send. And this probably should be prefixed with something like dev. But I don't actually want to skip the email send right now. So there was the email code we went over in depth, and I've got the blog up for that as well. So let me send that out. Blog, email, and I think I'm actually going to move this over to the Beyond Code blog. But if you're interested in how to send an email using all the different methods from my own very simple root request to curl, Axios, Mailgun, and then just the plain vanilla node as it is. Here's the link for that. So I'm just going to put that in. Alrighty. So I'm just putting that there so that if you want to see what that was, because I already went over that, and I'm not going to do that whole bit right now, but if you want to look through, that's how the email is being sent. Oh, actually, it's right here. Yeah, so that's the code that's right below here. So I'm going to say that we're not going to skip the email send. I'm going to comment that out for now. And I'm going to refresh here, get my email, next. All right, good. And I actually need to put something. I don't like calling that secret. I'd rather call it dev secret. I'm going to go fix that right now in a couple of places. I'm going to fix it in the tests first. Dot secret. Because this should not be there normally. So this should be dev. Yeah, that should be all right. Let's just call it underscore dev underscore secret. There we go. And then I'm going to find the other place where I set that, which was over here. And yeah, if development, let's do this. Development secret. So this way, it's more clear that this is not normally there. It's just there as part of the development environment. Because I don't want people thinking that the secret is supposed to be sent back there. Okay, I entered the wrong file. Let me go back. Where was I? Oh, no, I was in the right file. I was just in the wrong place. Let me scroll back down to sending the email. So I'm going to go check my email real quick. I believe that I should have gotten it. Oh, also, I need to... This needs to be... turned into an environment variable. Okay, I did get my verification code in email. Great. So I'm doing my email on the other screen because. All right. So I need to swap those out. I'm just going to put to do here for now. And then also I just found out about this nifty little trick, which is in the issues. xref entity ID. If you want, let's see, do I have random here somewhere? Oh, okay, let me go find my random function. Sorry, I'm jumping around in files a lot, but it's how I do. I just open a file and I search and I get on the line that I need to be on, or I jump to the line that I know it is from an error message or whatever. I'm going to jump up to the top of the file. I'm going to add RND right here. I don't know why I did that. It probably was just as fast to type it out as to copy. A lot of times I copy things that are similar and then just edit the stuff inside. Sometimes it's so small that I don't know why I copied it. Anyway, now going back down here. So this will make it so that the email doesn't thread, which is nice because it means that each new verification email will show up at the top. So I'm going to go with actually let's random val. There we go. And we can do this as message ID. There we go. And entity ID. And then I am going to just move these up. Mailgun from. Just to make it a little bit easier. I guess it doesn't need to be mailgun as much as just email, period. So let's do that. Because if I like, obviously the private key, I need to swap out if I was going to use SendGrid or something like that. But these would actually stay the same. All right. And then I guess I could have something like I don't know whether to call a message domain or thread domain or what. But we could do something like this. And then I go back and forth on using template strings because I think they're stupid. But every once in a while, it's like, maybe I'll do this. But I think in general, I think they cause more harm than good. Just as one more confusing way to do things. Now, sprintf, I would have been a big fan of. I'm going to look over here and check and see if we got any comments. All right. None comments. Additional. Okay. All right, xref entity ID. So we got all this stuff. Verify your email. This needs to be a better subject. We need to have a pre-header in here. Do I have a pre-header? I do have a pre-header there. Well, all of, like this actually needs to move to a template. All right, so the email is being sent out. That's looking about as good as it will. I'll call that email ID domain. Let me just go ahead and set these. Might be a good time to do it. Let's see. Email from equals mailer@example.com. All right, I'm gonna have to pause for just a second. I do need to take this call. Okay, I'm back. So that was not a call that actually could be productive at the moment because I'm not in a position to provide an answer to the question that was asked. All right, let's say we're going to do example.com. We could do example.org. Indeed, we could. All right. Email from, reply to, let's say like this, email ID domain used for message threading, doesn't have to be on public DNS. I don't know how to describe that. Okay, so there's this, and then I guess I'll bring that over into my own .env. Now you'll notice I have .env and .env.secret. So .env.secret is where I have the stuff that I cannot show you because it's my actual keys. All the stuff in here, these are all test stuff. Even the Google token is for a test account. So all of that is actually free. And these things are in env.secret. This does not need to be in env.secret. But let's say email is going to be from mailer@rootprojects.org. Eventually I'll get the Beyond Code stuff set up. Eventually. And then AJ, doesn't really matter, but we'll go with it. Okay. And a lot of times there's actually a separate domain. So it'll be something like mailer.rootprojects.org would be the email from domain. And that's why we have the reply to, because the from domain doesn't really have anything to do. It just verifies. And it does, like, even when the domains don't match, you'll see this all the time. You get verified mail that's not classified as spam, but it looks really spammy because it's from some like weird random junk domain, and the people that are providing the junk domain didn't have the decency to name it something like mailer2.mailingcompany.com. Instead, it's like m2mc.co, which is this abbreviation of mail server 2, mail company, whatever. Anyway, so it'll look really spammy, and then the reply to is when you hit reply who it goes to. Anyway, enough of that. Okay. What are we doing here? Let me go back to the app.js. So now, let me get rid of those. We don't need them. All right, good. Got that to do to done. To do to done. And I do want to pull this out into an actual template. So to do, use HEML plus ETA for email templates. This will not go into this library. This is just what I'm personally going to use. I've kind of surveyed the landscape, and HEML and ETA seem like the best choices. HEML for basically like HTML, but for email, and it transpiles so that classes get attached and inlined and all that stuff. And then ETA is like EJS, except for it does... I don't even want to go on the tangent about EJS. It's so stupid. But ETA has layouts, which I don't know why EJS doesn't support layouts. And I have no idea why anybody would use it when it doesn't even support layouts, which is the most basic feature. Okay, I went on that tangent, but not very long. Oh yeah, templates. So what I want to be able to do here is say templates.html. And text. And it will be okay. This will actually be a whole bag of templates. Let's go ahead and do this right now, actually. So templates is going to be an object of objects, and we're going to have something like magic link, and where am I getting information here? I type value secrets, and I'm going to say template, and then we're going to do let's template equal templates template what? No. Say data? Sure. Man, sometimes I'm really bad about this. Anyway, just checking over here for comments again. Not a lot of enchilada. That's fine. That was me saying not a lot of. Just in my own weird way. So let's do data.html, data.txt, data.subject. All right, then we need to put the subject in here. Subject. Okay, cool. And we're going to keep these really simple. But we'll have something like magic link and forgot password. Okay. And that I'll just start with 2, and that'll work for now. And then I need to make sure that into the notify function, we get the extra stuff. Because I kind of want to allow arbitrary data being passed through. Okay, we're not going to use that there. We're going to use it here. Claims body. Okay, we'll go with that. I think that's a decent style to go with. So we'll just call everything else claims. Or I could just call it body. Claims is probably not the best name for it. But in any case, we'll do claims.template. And then if not data, then we can throw new error in, so developer error, invalid templates, and then let's say claims.template. There we go. Nice, friendly error message. Let's see. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. That looks good. All right, let me just take what I've got there, and let's just run through this test again and see if things are still working. All right, it actually did send. Development secret is set. I got the verify your email, but unfortunately, I'm seeing it in the same thread, so I must have gotten that xref entity ID must be wrong. Let me go check on that, because that was in this issue here. Message ID, that's where we were talking about it. And I'm just going to add a little emoji to this mail. That way it's easier for me to identify it. X entity ref ID, not X. See, I just put it in the wrong order. All right, let's go do this again. I'm not going to, like, this doesn't, it's not super critical. It just makes it so that messages don't thread. And let me show you what that means. Let me see if I can pull up my email here without showing all my emails. Gosh. Let me just get rid of some junk emails here. Order. Huh. Oh, good. Sorry, I'm not trying to read my emails, but I'm trying to figure out which ones I can just archive real quick so I can show you this. And that also has the side effect of me reading the subject lines and stuff and clicking into one or two that were too juicy to resist. Particularly, there was a package I ordered on Amazon that after it's been almost a week, Amazon sends me a notification saying I haven't been charged and it hasn't been shipped. And so I contacted the seller and I was like, what the heck's going on? And they said that they did not get the notification from Amazon that it had been purchased until today. And so it will ship. It's gallium. I ordered gallium, which is, it's like mercury, but not toxic, or not highly toxic. I mean, I'm sure you shouldn't ingest it, but it's not like mercury where it absorbs into your skin and causes you to have craziness. Or at least it's not known to do so. Okay, so these are not threaded. These are threaded. That's what I mean. So next time I send this email, now that I corrected this property, now when I go here and I do this, whoops, not that one I want. I wish I could go clear those out. I probably can somehow. I don't think some of those are even used anymore. Okay, there was it that fast? It may have been that fast. Let's see. Toot. All right, well, I think it was that fast. Anyway, so now it's not threading it. So now top one is the top one. You don't have to go into the messages and dig down, which I call this a benefit. All right, so that's working. Let's get back to the browser stuff. That's what we're here for. Let's get back to the browser flow. So I do need to put in here a URL of something to click. And I think I created a challenge URL in this. Let me double check. I'll double check elsewhere in a second. Challenge URL. It's getting kind of long. Or click here. This will probably cause it to get caught by Google's spam filter. You have to really carefully word your email and password verification emails. Like as just a dev that's doing ad hoc stuff like this, you'll find very quickly that your emails stop going through in a timely fashion to Gmail. And it's because you're using really bad language. Like, I guess here's your verification code as plain text and having a URL in there. We'll see what happens, but it's going to go into the spam detector really quickly. And I'm going to have to go look at some other emails that I've gotten from other companies and see what wording they use. And then using Hemel, the transpiler of this HTML language to, well, let me just show you real quick what it looks like. Using Hemel is probably, where's it? There we go. So you can get good looking email very simply. So I'm thinking of combining this with ETA. Anyway. Having better emails will result in better delivery rates. But what I'm doing right now is probably going to result in worse delivery rates. Where did my email go, by the way? New, verify your email. Okay, that's the one that I just sent. Good. So here, that needs to be BR or P or something. But I'm not going to change that yet. All right, what is this doing? Login. Token. Okay. So what I want to do is this challenge URL is just something that I ad hoc'd again, but I'm going to parse this out and then present some options. So when I click on this right now, nothing's going to happen. What I want to have happen is that it presents a different interface that shows some information about the login. Let's see here. So I don't want this or login with email to show. Instead, let's go back to the browser code. We're going to go back to the magic link. I'm actually going to main first because I've already got some code there that parses stuff. Let's see. Parse query string. I can copy that function over. It's a useful function. Okay. There we are. ID token. Let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I want to be in. Public JS magic link. So there we added the event listener. Here we have parse query string function. Just put that right here. And then what I want to do is copy the nope, not this one. Dang it. This one. Copy the general way that this is working. Yeah, I think up to about there. And I'll explain this as I go back into it. Kind of what it's doing. No, again, I keep on going into the wrong one. There we go. This one. I'm going to actually just go back to the correct one on purpose. And then go back to the correct one on purpose. So my history is in the right order. Okay, what? That's not what I was expecting. Oh, that's okay. Alright, so what we're going to do here is look for, whoops, pound login token equals. So we actually want to slice let's call this function parse secrets. So if document.location.hash, do we have a starts with in JavaScript yet? Or begins with? Let me check. I know we've got it in Go, and I like using that. JavaScript string starts with. Yeah, we do. Ah, bless me again. I don't know what's causing that. I don't know why I'm a little sneezy today. Okay, starts with hello. Yeah, okay, cool. Then let's use that. Let's use .starts with. And I think it actually will include the pound. right. And technically, we don't even need to add all the handlers and that stuff. So some of this is going to move to a common place. It's just going to be, I guess, routing more or less. Let's move all of this bit here. Let's just move it into the parse section. And then I'm going to do this. Dot length. There we go. So we're going to parse the query string, and if not token to do, let's call this secret token or verify token or some such. I don't like calling it just plain token. So that's the secret. So if that isn't there, then we go about our business. So really it's if that is there. So if that's not there, then return. If it is there, wait, what do we change here? Push date, document title, no location, path name. Okay, so we're going to drop. We're going to drop the hash from browser history. Or maybe that should be replace state. I don't recall. Remove the hash with token from browser URL bar. That's what this does. Now, if we do have the token, that's when we want to go fetch some information. So I'm going to go back up to the top where I've got my fetch. And let's instead say, all right, we did request verification. We're going to do request meta, and we're going to take in a secret. And we're going to do challenge token equals secret. And we're not going to put any headers because we're just going to go a get here. So we don't need any of this, as it were. All right, I'm trying to check the comments a little more frequently. Let's see, I got a message? No, I did not. All right. Because there have been a bunch of comments coming in. All right. We're going to get some info. We're going to call REST data suite. So let me go back down to the end here. And if we got that token, then what we want to do is request meta with that token. And parse secret is now no longer a good name for this. Would be continue login. That'd be a better name. Good. We're gonna and really what I'd like to do as early as this point is I'd like to say that we're going to hide the magic email. In fact, I'd almost like to say that it's going to be hidden by default, and it's just going to become visible in the case that this is not true. Okay. So we're going to show the magic info pane, which is not necessarily a form. Well, yeah, it will be a form, actually. But let's wait a second on that. Okay, to do spinner. So we need a loading spinner in between the time we make the request for the data and we get the data. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to put that as a to-do. So we request the meta, and we get magic info. All right, when I show what this is, it'll probably become more clear. This needs to be an async function, not an await function. There we go. No such thing as an await function. Actually, a little before I show this, I'm going to make some changes to the HTML because some of this stuff doesn't exist. Again, I tend to hold a lot of things in my head simultaneously. Like in my head, I've got like, okay, this is going to go here, this is going to go here, this is going to go here, and then I'm just kind of coding for what will be in a moment, but what is not yet. So this form magic info is not there yet, but it will be in a moment. So now, yeah, I've got this form. Oh, and how am I going to do this? How do you get the user agent string from JavaScript, and is it even accurate? I think it's something like Navigator. I'm going to check that real quick. I know we're going on yet another tangent here, but it's not really that much of a tangent. Navigator dot. Do we have like a user agent? Is that what it's called? User agent. Cool. Navigator.userAgent. I'm going to have two different ways of displaying this. If we're in the same browser or if we're in different browsers. This is annoying. Okay, I know what to do. Because it's tough to think about. You've got one application and it's running in two tabs, and so you have to think kind of threaded or dual process. What's happening in this tab? What's happening in this tab? And there's two different things happening. So one tab is going to be polling over and over again, hey, am I verified yet? Hey, am I verified yet? Hey, am I verified yet? And the other tab is going to be checking basically just to make sure that everything's all right, and then displaying some information, some meta information about the other tab, whether it's on the same computer or whether it's on a different device. It needs to display something different and then the one tab needs to close itself if it can, or just pop up and say, hey, you can close this out now, or whatever. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm working through in my head, but let's get it into code. So I do need the navigator user agent. We've got magic info as a form. What is this going to say? It's going to have, like, I'm just going to put some stuff here, placeholder for right now, because we're going to get into it in a second. But this is going to be remember me for 30 days. Or it's going to have just log in just once. Temporarily. Again, I need to go look at the wording that other people are using for this and kind of think through what it needs to be. And technically, this should be a button to, no, this is the primary button. If I hit enter, it should be the remember me. This should be a different action. I agree with that. Let's see. Great. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Class. And then we need to show, I'm just going to put this in a div for now, but we want to show what the other computer is, or what the other tabs are, and I'll refine this as we go. I'm probably going to need to take a break soon. I think I've been going for a little bit now. I forget what time we started on this. Give me just a second here. Well, it doesn't matter what time it's been. I can feel inside that I get to the point where I need a break, so I'm going to try to get this to the point where we get this part done and the piece that comes after this done, and then I think I'm going to break for a bit. Gosh. Okay, I'm getting in the weeds here. I'm thinking too much. I need to get to implementation. So this thing is going to be hidden by default. It's going to show, this is just a placeholder. We're going to have two possible pieces of information. I'm kind of crossing the streams with this, but it's okay. So we're going to show what the other user agent was, or not. Call that hidden too. Eh. Alright, this will be a login message area, a button to remember, a button to log in just temporarily, and then we need to be able to send that off. Okay. Magic link, user agent, loading spinner, where are we at? Where are we at? Magic info. I need to check the magic info. So if resp.data.ordered by is not equal to user agent, and there probably needs to be some other identifying piece of information. don't know if I'm sending the ID back. I'm thinking about this again. I'm thinking about 2 tabs at the same time and code that's going to switch based on which tab it's in. So I'm a little bit... oh, we got a comment come in. Is this Node.js? So right now I'm doing JavaScript in the browser. The code that I'm doing on the server side, yeah, that's Node. And the link to the repository is in the description. If you want to take a look at it, it's this. Or wait. It's this. It has a terrible name right now, Auth 3000. Got a better name for it once I actually get ready to publish it. But for right now, it's Auth 3000. Okay, so we're going to have a spinner. I need to get back to the browser and be looking at what I need to look at. I'm just going to do this. Window.alert. Different browsers. Where am I adding a handler? Magic email, add event listener. Let me just copy this whole block. And then, what did I call this form? Magic info? Let me check on that again. Call this form magic info. And what are the pieces it has? Login message, login temporary. Got it. Okay, so I also need... another thing I'm going to need is JS login temporary. I really should make that a button. Basically, something shouldn't be a link unless you can right click it and open it in a new tab. This is not going to have that ability, so it should not be anchor element. But I'm making it an anchor element for the moment just because it has the visual style that I want, and I'll go create a button class that looks like a link later, maybe. Okay, so this is going to be on click, async function, EV. And then, of course, we're going to do this for both of these. We don't need to capture the email. What are we capturing there? JS login temporary or JS login message. So basically all that we need to do here this isn't quite right. Let me comment this out for now. I'm going to move on from this. So basically my form handler, I don't need to worry about the handler yet for the button and the submit. Well, I want it to do nothing. I'll just do not implemented. There we go. Same thing here. We can just put that in for now. That's good enough. It stops the default action and says not implemented. Good. Now, different browsers, magic info. What we do want, though, is we want JS login message. I'm just going to have the inner text here show ordered by. Okay. When you're using Node.js, can it generate HTML code like PHP? No. Node.js is a programming language. PHP is a templating language. But ETA.js is what you want. Right here. It's the kind of the closest thing. I only recommend using it for templates. I don't believe that you should program in your HTML unless you're doing it JavaScript on the client side. Yeah, but ETA.js, if it loads, that's what you want. Other people talk about EJS. EJS is stupid. Don't use it. ETA is what you want. Where did that go? Is this not it? This is it. I don't know why it's not loading right now. Okay, there it goes. Yeah, that's what you want. But again, I would recommend that you actually use JavaScript in the browser and only use something like ETA when you're doing something like static site generation. I would not use something like ETA or EJS, its evil alternative, for a client-server interaction, because I don't know why. I can't articulate it right now. I'm in a different mode of thinking. All right, so we're going to alert different browsers. We're going to show who it's ordered by. Let's see. And then I want to attach the handler at this point. I'm just going to stop for a second from coding and then go look at what I've been doing. Also, I'm going to close out some of these extra tabs so that my window isn't junked up with extra stuff. I can bring this over here. I don't know. Let me open back up. There we go. Okay. And I have a typo. Resp for response. Oh no, I got rid of my... Look at that. It's in the browser history where we don't want it. It's okay. All right, that's fine. So basically, we also want to handle an error here. So for those of you, let me see question here. Does it worth to learn in future? You're gonna have to rephrase that question. I don't understand. Does it worth to learn in future? Is what worth learning in the future? Okay. ID should come back, which should be in local token. Message, intertext. Oh yeah. So what I'm doing here. So if you weren't watching previously, this ordered by, the response.ordered by, oh, actually this would be data, sorry. Oh no, go back. Don't undo. resp.data.ordered by. Whatever is initiating the request, I'm calling the verification request an order, like an order that's going to be fulfilled, like you order a burger at McDonald's. And the ordered by is going to have, it's going to be the user agent. So I'm just going to say if there's not a data.ordered by, then I'm just going to, that means that this token is probably invalid. And I want to come up with some way to actually handle errors in the future, but for right now I'm just going to put invalid token, which is fine. And okay, with that, I got a little bit more to go. I got another maybe 10 minutes in me, and then I got to take a break. Is it worth it to learn ETA? Well, it depends on what your use case is and what your alternative is. What I'm using ETA for is for email templates. I'm using Himmel and ETA for email templates. So Himmel is this nice little, it's like HTML, but it transpiles into HTML that will work inside of an email. It looks really clean and nice and really simple, kind of bootstrappy-esque, but with elements rather than classes. And then it transpiles into ugly, ugly, ugly email code, because email code is just ugly and there's nothing you can do about it. So you could take something like ETA is just text templating. It doesn't know about HTML. It doesn't know about anything. It's just looking at blocks of text. So you could take something like ETA and combine it with Himmel, and then get Himmel with templates. Although I haven't seen anything in Himmel that talks about templates. So I don't see anything here that says templating. So I don't think that Himmel has a template language. I think that it is just a markup language that is something that transpiles to email compatible HTML. So put ETA inside of your Himmel, render the ETA first, then you'll get back valid Himmel if everything was valid, and then render your Himmel and you'll get back valid HTML that is compatible with email clients. So that's what I'm using it for. For server-side stuff, I send JSON back. I send JSON from the server to the client, and I don't render server-side unless it's static site generation. I wouldn't use ETA for static site generation because it's not HTML aware, and there are more popular tools that are better. So for static site generation, I would probably use Hugo. I do use Hugo for static site generation. So I'll put that link over here as well. But I would prefer a tool that understands HTML if I'm going to be doing stuff in the browser, and JavaScript in the browser understands HTML. And by that same token, you could say, well, React and Vue understand HTML as well. So, but I don't like React because I feel like it's just a rich man's PHP. And I think that Vue is better. If you're going to become a programmer, I think that Vue is better to learn than React. If you're not going to become a programmer, you're just going to be a web dev that does HTML and CSS, and you do JavaScript when you have to. That's kind of what React is for. But if you're going to, if you're interested in programming as an art form and as a, that's maybe a poor choice of words, but as a craft. I don't. React is not. It's gives me the shivers. Okay, so I need to send the email again. That's where I'm at right now. So I need to go through the process again, from beginning to end. All right, we're gonna send the email. I'm actually going to get the email. I'm going to open up the email link, and we're just going to go through this process. So I'm doing my email in another tab because it's how I do. Where did it go? I didn't get it yet. I must have tipped the scale. So Google does this thing. Well, first of all, let me make sure that the email actually sent. Invalid session is fine. Challenge token. Go check your email. I believe that the email did actually send. But Google does this thing where once you use certain words or a certain pattern in your email, Google will delay your email by 4 minutes. So it becomes really obnoxious to try to do this sort of thing. So what I'm going to do, because I'm in development mode, I'm printing out the login secret right there. So I'm going to open up another tab, and we're going to simulate as if I had clicked an email. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put this in where we're doing the request. So where we're doing the request for verification, here it is. So I'm logging that out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a couple of things. Let's see, to do poll for status. I need to put a polling bit there, because with this part of the code, if it goes into this flow, it's kind of done. Nothing else is going to happen. So it needs to poll and then get to a point where it displays a message like, you can now close this tab once the verification process has succeeded. And I'll get to your question in just a second, but I need to give me another minute to focus on this. I need to pull for status. I want to show the link. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do .js. Now the email came through 4 minutes later, so I've done something that's triggered Google. It's probably because I say here's a verification code, and then I have the word login in a link that's to localhost. So I mean, there's probably a dozen things that are wrong with my stupid little email that I'm sending. But let me just show you this real quick. I know I'm getting off tangent from what I was actually going to do right there. I'm going to write some code. There it is. It came in 4 minutes late, because you can see the timestamp. The timestamp is correct. It says 2:03. It just came in. It's 2:06. So, and then, it's got some random looking stuff. It's got localhost. It's got the word login. It's got the word token. It's got a link. There's not a. It's not very text heavy. There's no images. There's no properly formatted HTML. So this is triggering Google's suspicious email detector. And then I send the email, and it's just going to hold it. So I've got to get around that, but again, that'll be another later session where we'll cook up a really nice email. I'll see if I can go through some verifications that I've gotten from other companies, and we'll try to find a format that looks nice, and that has good wording. We got to look at the wording. The wording's really important, and make sure that the URL does not look sus. Anyway, I'm going to show, we'll call it magic dev link. And this will be a link, and we'll make it hidden false so that it'll show. And I will get to your question in just a second, but let me get through this first. And then we'll make, what is it, href equals resp.data._development secrets. I probably should also put the link in there as well. And we're going to do it like this. http:/. We're going to use base URL. That's what we're going to use. Base URL, because that's already defined as whatever is in the browser currently. Plus, we're going to do pound login $token equals like this. There we go. And now I need to go make this, because this does not yet exist. And yeah, that's what we need to do. So we'll go back here. I'm going to go check your email for the login link, and then I'm going to have and then class equals JS dev. What do we say? Magic dev link. Is that what we're calling it? And it's going to be hidden by default. And it's going to be, there's no href by default. That's fine. All right. So we're going to have this dev link. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this show up if it exists. So if we're getting back this, then we're going to show like that. There we go. And really, this needs to be in a paragraph. And let's put a little nice emoji here. Oh, and we do need to set target on this. Target equals blank. So that'll open up in a new tab just as like it would in an email. So now let me go back to this one more time. I'm going to refresh. Going to put in my email address. Going to hit enter. And I forgot to set what this should be. How about we put a lock here? Unlock, maybe? Unlock? Can't really see. Let's see. Can we have broken lock, maybe? I want to show like it's insecure. Oh, you know what? Oh, wait. Where'd it go? Yeah, let's just do this one. What? That's not what I was thinking. But, yeah, this is developer access right here. That's what we're doing. I should probably find the escape code for this so that I don't have weird stuff in, because that doesn't look right to me. I should find what the HTML escape code for that character is. It looks like it's two glyphs that are ligature. They have a ligature to put them together. All right, that was too much time on this. But anyway, I need to set the link to that. Not just the href, but we also want to set the inner text to the same thing. So I'm going to do let link equals link. Whoops. There we go. Equals link. Boom. All right. I like that. Okay, we're going to do this. Now, it looks like the last time, I don't think it actually triggered the spam. Right now it's 2:12, and is the email going to come in? Let me hit refresh. Okay, the email did not come in yet. So this time it triggered it. Anyway, so we click on this, opens up a new tab, and we get success. Unfortunately, I didn't see how we got success because I didn't have console open. But it can tell that it's the same browser. So that's good. And then I need this one to continue polling. I'm going to implement that and then I'm going to be done. So it's a minute later. I still haven't... No, I did get that email now. Okay, interesting. So it is delaying it because it's not coming through right away. I don't think it's... Could be just queuing. Could just be... Because Mailgun will queue the emails, and sometimes if there's heavy load, that might take 30 seconds or 60 seconds for an email to get through the queue. But that previous time when it was 4 minutes, I'm pretty sure that was Gmail because Gmail takes exactly 4 minutes every time. All right. So one more thing, and then I'll get to your question. The one more thing is I'm going to implement the polling in here. So we've got the request meta. I need to change the request meta, the way this function works. So it can take either the secret or the challenge token. And I'm just going to call this token. No, I'm going to keep it secret for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say challenge token equals... Boop. And only one of these is going to be full. So what I need to say is or empty string because otherwise it'll get converted to undefined as a string, which the string undefined is a actual value, whereas undefined is not an actual value. So I'm just going to take this approach with both of these for right now, where there's two ways that I can fill out this function based on what I did on the back end. I can either provide a challenge token or a token. This way, when it gets to the back end, it'll say, is there a challenge token? Well, there will be, if it's an empty string, that'll be falsy. It'll be a no. And then same thing here. If it's falsy, it'll be a no. So it'll just get whichever one's provided. So I'm going to go change request meta, where I use that to say secret, like this. Was there another place I used that? No, just one place. And then I'm going to copy this. And what we need to do over in the place where I'm setting that link. So this one, I'll call this metaresp, I guess. We're going to log that out here, and then this is the polling that we're going to do. So we're going to say while true. This is so weird to do async await with a while. To me. It just feels dirty. Probably is. Alright, we're going to request this, and then if meta.resp.verified by... No, this is too weird. Okay, I'm going to do something really janky here. I'm going to create a promise because I need a little helper function. Let me go back up to the top where I like to put my helper functions while I'm just prototyping out. This is so wrong in JavaScript. Sleep, we'll give it a number of milliseconds, and return new promise function resolve. This is another thing that I'd put in my cheat sheet for JavaScript. Which maybe I'll do that at the start of the next session before I dive back into these things. To set timeout. And I always forget if it's the function first and then the number. I think it is the function first and then the number and then the additional arguments. I think that's how it goes. This is just so... one of those things where if I saw this in real code, I would just poo-poo. No. No, this is just... Anyway, but we're here, and we're doing it. So we're going to wait for 1 second. We're going to go request... Actually, not with secret, because we're going to request with challenge token. And we're going to resp.data.challenge token. Oops, typo. Let's creep in there. Oh no, it was metaresp. That was correct. So if it's verified by, then you can close this window now. Well, maybe. Depends. It depends on if the browser that we're checking in is the same browser that we started the request cycle in, then we close the window. Otherwise, to do finish login. Get token, finish login. And then both of these would break the while loop. Alright, I'm just going to try this out. There's some more stuff I need to do, but I need a break, so I'll answer your question, and then I'll break, and then I'll come back to this and finish with a couple other things that need to be done here. Alright, so it's not polling. Why is it not polling? It should be polling right now. Let me go check this code again. Sleep 1000. Did I get set timeout wrong again? Is it milliseconds first and then function? Function then milliseconds. Okay, no, I got it right. Did I not refresh? So resp. Okay, it definitely got to this point in the program. I'm just going to put yo there because I don't remember what I'm supposed to be logging. Connection refused. Okay, that could be why. Did I have a bunch of network requests? I did have a bunch of network requests. Okay, so it was polling. I just wasn't showing the result of the polling. So I just need to put in here console.log poll result. So this should be order response, not yo. There we go. Okay, let's close out these extra tabs. Do this again. Alright, there's my login link. Opens up in a new Mabob. And then here, I've got my polling going on. My polling is happening way too quickly, I think. Let me look at this bigger. Let me pop this out. Is this happening just once per second, or is it happening more often? No, it's happening about once per second. I should probably wait 5 seconds or so the first time. What does the preview look like each time? Cool. All right, and what I didn't do here, and this other one, when I open the link, it says success, but I've polled, but I haven't actually completed the request. So I did a check to see, okay, what information do I get back? Well, let's see if that's logged here. Yeah. But I didn't complete it, and so this one's never going to reach a completion cycle either. Anyway, I need to handle an error case for this. I'm going to put this on pause. I'm going to answer your question now, and then we'll come back to finishing this up. But I desperately need to go take a walk and stretch my legs and stuff like that. So, all right, let me see. I want to create server-side web app JavaScript, and that's the reason I asked you about this thing. A problem, take it, take time. How is it supposed that infinite loop breaks? I don't get it. Okay, so let me answer a couple of these questions. Okay, so yeah, ETA I think is good. You'll hear people talk about EJS. Anytime you hear EJS, forget about it. ETA. It's very similar thing, just ETA basically doesn't have the bugs and works like it's supposed to, whereas EJS, they just basically stopped halfway. Hugo is not something that you need to learn unless you're building static sites. If you're building static sites, Hugo is an excellent tool. It's not really an alternative to WordPress because WordPress has a bunch of plugins and stuff that the end user, once you've installed it for them, they can click through. But in terms of if you're going to run your own blog, Hugo is something great for that. Node.js is something that you will have to learn. You have to learn JavaScript. You do not have an option. No matter what other language you learn, no matter what field of study you're in, you will have to learn JavaScript because it is so ubiquitous. Now, what learning JavaScript means is a big question mark because what JavaScript is kind of changes day by day. It is really obnoxious how quickly it changes and how most of the changes are just nonsense. And that's one of the things that's kind of frustrating is you hear people who are, say, mid-level developers that are, they're above junior, so they know a lot more, but they don't necessarily know what's good from what's bad. They just know what's exciting and what's new. And, junior and senior developers are actually really similar. There's a lot of memes about, but you're in that middle stage, you're just so excited about things. Anyway, the core concepts of JavaScript that are taught in the Croc-on.js series, which it's already in the notes, but I'm going to put it in here again. So I'm going to label it this time, Croc-on.js. That right there. That is the most important stuff that you can learn about JavaScript in general. And I think it's important to understand JavaScript as a language. But when people talk about JavaScript and Node, they talk about them as if they're different. In the browser, you have the DOM, and on the server, you have Node. And the parts that are the DOM are not JavaScript, and the parts that are Node are not JavaScript. JavaScript is a language. What you build on top of the language or what you plug into the language is not the language itself. So I think it is important to learn JavaScript as a language. But again, as I mentioned previously, and I'll put this link in here again as well. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah, I think this is the right one. I call this learn to program in English. If English isn't your native language, then whatever your native language is. It's not about English. It's about learn how your brain programs. And the link was not correct, so I'm going to go fetch that again real quick. So this is an interview problem called the vending machine, and I just kind of talk through it. But this is a good one. So learn to program in English, or your language, just to think about programming, and then apply that to a language. And I don't recommend Python because it's an antiquated language that is not well suited for the modern era. There are lots of libraries for it that are not written in Python. The libraries are written in C, but the Python makes it easy to use the libraries that are data science libraries. If you're into data science, you're going to have to learn Python, most likely. There are other languages like R and Julia that are maybe more productive, but they're not as widespread. But my point with this is saying I don't recommend Python because of its practicality in the modern era, but as learning a language, there's a book called Learn Python the Hard Way. And it's more about learning to program than it is about learning Python from my perspective. It's about going through a rote process over and over again to make sure that you understand. Well, not even making sure that you understand. It's first about doing it and then understanding it later, kind of. Like, do this, then what was the output? What did you learn? Okay, can you change it to do this other thing? So the book is called Learn Python the Hard Way. It's available free online if you want to read it online. If you want to buy it in print, then you also get the video course as well. But that's something that I recommend for new people. Again, it's not about what language you learn when you're starting to program, because there's learning the computer is one thing. Learning to program is a completely separate thing that's really about relational algebra and Boolean logic. It's about thinking. That's learning to program. If you want to learn a computer programming language, then I think that you need to know both first the computer and programming, and then learn a programming language. And so from that perspective, it doesn't matter which programming language you use to start learning programming, because as soon as you have an understanding of programming itself, you can then move on and pick a different language. So it's good to learn something that is easy to learn, not because it's what you're going to get a job in, but because it helps you to learn programming, not the programming language. But again, I think learning about the computer is good too. So I recommend this book, Running Linux 5th edition. It's a super old book. I'm going to put a link in here real quick. But if you want to learn about the computer, this is a pretty darn good book. Oh wow, is this... Do they have a new edition out? 2006? Is that the newest one? I want 5th edition. I think that is 2006. Oh wow, there's one that came out in 2009. Okay. 2005, 2009. This might, this might be a new book. Running Linux 5th edition is the one that I had. Not much has changed since, because there was a ton of changes in Linux right around then, and there haven't been hardly any since then. So I'm going to give a link to this. You could probably get a used version that's maybe a slightly different edition or something like that. But anyway, I'm just going to put this link in. Yeah, I'm not questioning that you understand English. I'm just saying that it's not about the language, it's about programming. And I'm just speaking broadly. I don't know who you are specifically, but lots of people come to this channel or just searching the web. Understand it in your native language, whatever that is, English or otherwise. So this is just learn the computer, running Linux 5th edition. And it doesn't have to be exactly that edition. You could get an older edition. It's probably fine. That's just the first one that came up in the link. But I'm putting that in the... So hopefully all this chat gets preserved. I think it does. I'd be really ticked off if it doesn't. But I haven't gone back to check on them to make sure that they get preserved. Anyway. If you... learn the concepts of the computer. Learn the concepts of programming as the thinking portion, and then marry the two together and learn a programming language. And if you learn a programming language, just learn it as a tool, as an end to learning programming, not as an end unto itself to I'm going to go get a job in this language I just learned. Although if you happen to do 2 for 1, maybe that's good. But I also recommend that you learn 3 languages, because and simultaneously in the beginning, particularly because a lot of people say, "Oh, just learn one language," and they're right. Because you don't want to learn 10 languages and learn how to do everything and learn mobile development, learn web development, learn server-side development, learn browser development. You don't want to do all of that. What I'm saying is in the beginning, to learn how to program, learn 2 programming languages because they're going to do things differently. If you learn Python and JavaScript, or JavaScript and Golang is a good pairing that I'd recommend, you're going to see things that are similar and things that are different. And as you explore the things that are similar and the things that are different, it's going to fortify the concepts in your brain. All right. Anyway, I have got to take my break. I'm out. Y'all have a good one. I will be back on later. We will finish up this flow according to what I was showing earlier in the Figma sketch of, I kind of had this diagrammed out of some of the possible interactions. And this is not actually as good as what I want it to be, but kind of there's some social logins, an email, it's a new device, it's not a new device, it's a new account, or it's not a new account, but it's on a new device. You get an email that looks like this or like that. Show you're getting a login from this device. It's okay to close the browser window. Do you want to remember this other device? Yeah, that's what we're going to finish up with this whole flow here in the browser. That'll be probably the next portion. Once I come back, which maybe I'll come back in it might be an hour because I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to maybe get something to eat. But all that, yes. You have a nice day too. Thank you very much. Adios.